If you need to blow some minds this holiday season, this bowl is gonna do it. This sweet, savory, and spicy cranberry chimichurri, it's festive and it can go on anything from your smoked turkey to your holiday brisket. You guys gotta whip up a batch of this. I even love it on steak. Go check out the recipe. I'm gonna eat this. So cranberry chimichurri, obviously it's not an authentic recipe. This is kind of a fun holiday spin, and it goes really, really well with not only steak, but chicken, pork, shrimp. I've served this at a lot of live events every year during the fall and the winter season, and it's a huge hit. Best thing is, it only takes a few minutes to make. The worst part is, you gotta wait a few hours, maybe overnight, before you can eat it. Well, I mean, you can eat it earlier, but it's best if you wait. You'll see. All right, so first we're gonna start off with parsley. I'm gonna need about a half cup, and you can see on this is flat leaf parsley. Don't use that curly parsley. You wanna get rid of these thicker stems. They're kind of bitter, so it doesn't need to be perfect, but rip off as many of the leaves as you can, and then we're gonna chop those. And this is probably the, I don't wanna say hardest part, but the most tedious part of the entire process. So I'm not gonna make you guys sit here and watch me peel all of these leaves off this entire pile. Maybe I will. Okay, next we've got one bunch of cilantro. Now, if you don't like cilantro, and I know there's some people out there that does not, you can use more parsley. But what I did is I split the difference. It's one bunch parsley, one bunch cilantro. The stems in cilantro you can eat. In fact, they have a great, great, great flavor. And what I like to do with herbs like this, just because there's so many of them, just do kind of a rough chop from the top first. And I want to point out that with chimichurri, it's really, really, really important that you don't put this in a food processor or a blender, because it really ruins the texture of all the herbs. And the herbs end up really blending into that oil and everything. If you're a food processor person, I'm not gonna yell at you, but I can tell you, I think it's way better if you just spend a few minutes hand chopping here. So, and you don't need it to be like completely pureed or anything. You just want some nice little chunks like you've got right here, and make sure that it's even all the way across. Okay, this is pretty good. And this is honestly like the hardest work that you're gonna have to do all day. I like having a bench scraper like this, especially for situations like this with all those herbs. Don't use your knife to scrape up everything. I'm not gonna yell at you if you're like me and you push the herbs around with your knife a little bit, but definitely get one of these. Now, if you're following along in the recipe, I've got it linked in the description below. I'm making pretty much like a double batch because I'm hungry, we wanna eat it. So I will be quoting enough for a double batch here. So this is about a half of a cup of parsley, half cup cilantro, and the recipe calls for 4 cloves of garlic in this situation, but who am I to limit you? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use a microplane. You can use like a garlic press if you like the garlic that tastes like that too. They taste different. I wouldn't slice it, but I like these microplanes. Okay, the last thing that we need to chop will be the cranberries. So I like to use dried cranberries. The fresh ones really add too much water content in here, and it ends up being really, really tart. So use some dried cranberries. These are just like the craisins that you get at the store. It's gonna be about a half of a cup of cranberries. And again, just do a rough chop. This is kind of where it gets sticky. So when you're cutting all of the ingredients, I recommend doing the cranberries last, because basically your knife's gonna be so sticky after this. And again, you don't need a fine chop. You're just trying to get those cranberries kind of chopped up a little bit like here. You just want it to be a nice texture, somewhat similar to the herbs. Use that bench scraper, get those in here. Okay, so first we're gonna use 2 teaspoons of oregano. You can use Mexican oregano as well if you prefer that. Gonna do 2 teaspoons of crushed red pepper flakes. I added a little bit more in here because I like an extra kick. And then I'm gonna add about a half teaspoon of coarse black pepper. I might adjust that at the very end. I'm gonna do the same thing, and this is a kosher salt. So it's also coarse, it gives a nice texture. And again, keep those handy because you might need more. Okay, then we're gonna use 4 teaspoons, so that's a tablespoon plus a teaspoon, of red wine vinegar. Go ahead and mix this in here. And then last, we've got olive oil. So use whatever you think is really flavorful. I definitely would use like a nicer olive oil for something like this, not like a cheap one that you'd normally cook with. And I like to pour it in, just kind of mix it around with the fork. Kind of emulsifies, meaning it's going to mix that oil and vinegar and the garlic together, kind of create that sauce. And what we're going to do here is add about a cup of oil. It really just depends on the amount of ingredients that you have here, but it's going to be around that. Mine was a little bit more than a cup this time, and that's okay. You want all the ingredients to be submerged in the oil, but not swimming in it to where there's not oil layer right on the top of it. Now, it's important to taste it at this point because you just don't know what adjustments you might need to make. So I'll use a clean spoon, don't worry. It's so good. That parsley and the pepper go really well together, and then that red wine vinegar and the cranberries are both kind of tart and sour. It's a really well-balanced sauce. Mine does need a little bit more salt though, so I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle that in, and then I'm just gonna stir it up. And what we'll do is store this in the fridge for a few hours. Now, normally I would make this the day before I was gonna be grilling, but I wanna show it off now to you. So I'm gonna go ahead and cover this up, get this in the fridge for a few hours. I'll make a steak and then we'll taste test. Well, I'll taste test. See you guys in a little bit. All right, it's been a few hours and I'm so hungry, mostly because I am staring at this amazing picanha right here that I just reverse seared, seasoned with my beef seasoning, my canyon crust. So I'm excited just to slice into this and then add in that chimichurri that I just got out of the fridge. All right, so with the picanha, I've got the grain running this way, so I am going to slice in. Ooh, that looks good. Should we do the money shot? Oh yeah, always gotta do the money shot. Okay, and now I'll slice against the grain. A little treat for me. All right, we've got the cranberry chimichurri. Let's get a piece right in the middle here. Oh man, that is the good stuff right there. You can see all the chunks of garlic, the chilies, the cranberries. This is what dreams are made of right here. Oh yeah, I'm not waiting. It's so good. You might be thinking, I'm weird. What the heck, cranberry and steak? Trust me, this is so good. The combination of the sweet heat plus all the herbs, the spices, the tang of the cranberries just melds right in with that red wine vinegar. Of course, you've got the classic herb combination along with garlic and red chilies. Don't just limit yourself to steak either. You guys gotta try this on chicken wings, smoked turkey, rack of pork, pretty much any single kind of meat. As you know, just with any chimichurri, this one works really well too. My only other tip is to make a double batch because I promise if you don't, you will regret it. I hope you guys try this out. Let me know what your family and friends think. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Cheers.